Stan rolled over on the couch and the remote clattered onto the hardwood floor. His eyes flickered open momentarily but were already drifting closed when Tammy called from upstairs. "Stan, can you help me this?" Stan sat up and shook the sleep from his mind, combing his fingers through his mop of dirty blonde hair. "I'm coming." Stan stumbled up the stairs and looked in their bedroom, but she was not there. He peeked in his office where he spent most of his time as a freelance writer and ghost author. "Where are you?" "Spare bedroom," Tammy called out. Stan's eyes went wide as he crossed the threshold of the room. Tammy was standing in the middle of the room in her underwear, a matching bra and panty set in a vivid shade of red. The cups of the bra held a mass of quivering flesh as she walked around a length of silver material lying on the bed. Brown shiny hair spilled down her bare back in loose curls which she flipped over her shoulder to pick up the garment. "Wow, definitely worth missing my nap." Stan smiled. Tammy smiled back and kissed him as she approached him with the material. "Maybe later, Stan, I need your help. I cannot measure the correct arm length or hem length for this dress while I am wearing it. The sleeves don't have holes yet and I can't properly grip the pins, and every time I bend over I fall since I haven't cut the slit yet for the legs." Stan listened and nodded. "Okay, what do you want me to do?" "I want you to put it on so I can mark where I need to cut." She placed it over my arms and started clearing a spot of the floor. Stan did not move. Come on, I want to get this done. You know Megan is on her way home tonight from New York and we are going out so she can tell me about her trip." Stan remembered the date with her friend, but he could only stare down at the smooth pile of silver in his arms. "You want me to wear a dress?" Stan said. "Yes, you just put it on like a long t-shirt." "I considered putting in a zipper, but that is a lot of work." Tammy continued cleaning up the area as if expecting him to simply start putting it on. "I don't know, Tammy." Tammy stopped and looked at him with her head slightly askew. "Oh, this is one of those macho things, right?" Tammy said. She stepped closer and allowed her breasts to push against his left flank. "Don't worry, honey, I won't tell anyone." She kissed him again. "Now strip." Stan took off his clothes. He never missed an opportunity for some naked fun with Tammy, but he was still looking for a way to avoid putting on the dress. He did not have time to think since Tammy grabbed the dress and started to find the bottom hem. "Okay, stick your hands out. If I help you we can get done a lot faster." "I don't want to wear a dress," Stan said. "I know, honey, but I need your help. Now stick your arm in here and push down into the sleeves." Stan shook his head but put his arm in through the bottom of the dress. The fabric was tight but very smooth and soft. It felt nothing like anything he had worn before. It stretched and expanded over his arms. His hands finally found the end of the sleeves, but there was no hole. "There is not any opening for my hands." "I told you that." "I need to mark them so I can cut them in the right place. You're the same size as me and the fabric is stretchy enough that you will make a good model." "Now your other hand." "How did you get it off once it was on?" "Not easily." Tammy laughed. "Now raise your hands and I'll pull it down over your body." Stan raised his hand and he felt the fabric slowly move down his body until his head popped through the collar. Tammy smoothed it down until it covered his feet. She rubbed her hands over his body, smoothing out the wrinkles. She smiled as she slid over a bump at his waist. "Somebody likes the dress." "It is very smooth and soft," Stan said while blushing. "But mostly you are standing in a bra and panties running your hands up and down my body. What did you expect?" "You will love how it hugs my body," Tammy said. Stan nodded. "It will look awesome on you." "How are you going to walk?" Stan asked, kicking his legs out a few inches only to have the fabric resist him. I told you I have to cut a slit in the dress. That is one reason you are wearing it, so I can mark the length. Now hold out your arms, so I can mark the sleeves at the wrist. Stan held out his arms. His hands were balled into fists in the ends of the sleeves. Why are the sleeves closed? Did you sew them shut? No, look. Tammy bent Stan's arm at the elbow. See, no seams. This material is a special type of spandex. You can buy it in closed tubes for leggings and sleeves, saves time, and it looks cool to have no seams. I only had to sew the main body of the dress together as well as attach the sleeves and collar. Tammy continued to talk about the finer details of dressmaking while scrutinizing the fit of the dress. Something is wrong here. The seam at the shoulder looks wrong. Stan looked down at his shoulder but could see nothing wrong. Tammy slapped her forehead with her hand. Of course. Let me see what I can do to fix this. What is it? Stan asked. Tammy turned around and grabbed her generous bosom. You don't have any of these. The dress doesn't look the same as when I wear it. Well, I can't help you there. Stan laughed uncomfortably. I think I can figure something out, Tammy said, tapping her chin with her index finger. Raise your arms. Stan raised his arms and Tammy grabbed the bottom of the dress and pulled it up his body, the cool air prickling his skin. She continued to pull it up, inverting the material as she went until his chest was exposed and the bottom of the gown was now above the ends of his fingers, or where his fingers would be if they were not trapped in the sleeves. She stopped at that point, leaving him blind and off balance. Hey, let me out, Stan complained. He tried to pull his arms down, but the dress would not allow it, especially without the use of his fingers. Just a second, it takes so long to get the sleeves on. Just wait like that while I do this. Stan felt something wrap around his torso, something soft but inflexible. After a few adjustments, it began to get tighter as Tammy worked on the back of the garment. As it grew tighter and tighter, Stan realized what it was. Is this a corset? Is this the corset I gave you and you only wore once, the white one? Yeah, but I need something to hold your boobs and... My boobs? What boobs? Just listen, Tammy said. I can't put a bra on you with your arms trapped above you, and it takes too long to take the dress all the way off. No, what boobs? Stan insisted. I'll just use some water balloons or something. I'm pretty busty and it affects how the dress looks, and maybe where I need to cut, Tammy explained over Stan's complaints. Just hold still and I'll be done soon. Tammy pulled the laces at the back of the garment. Hey, easy, that is really tight. Believe me, I know, that's why I only wore it once. Tammy pulled a little more and then tied of the laces. I'll be right back. Don't move your arms, I don't want you to tear the dress. Some of the seams are still a little weaker than I want. Stan tried to move around a bit, but with his arms trapped above him and a real desire not to ruin his wife's work, he stayed relatively still. Though he was blinded by the dress, he sensed Tammy's return and felt her place something warm and squishy over his right nipple. This was repeated on his left side. I'm so glad this is a high-neck dress. Those should look perfect even though they aren't real. Tammy tugged the dress back down his body, stretching it over the new additions to his chest. Stan looked down as Tammy pulled the wrinkles out of the fabric. I can't see my feet. He tried to bend forward, but the stiffness of the corset prevents such movement. Tammy laughed and rubbed his faux breasts. Time for some payback. All those time you could not keep your hands off me. You didn't mind, Stan said. Tammy poked at his chest. You might mind if those were real. Stan shrugged. Hurry up. I want out of this. Tammy made some marks on the dress at his wrists and then knelt down and adjusted the hem. Oh, Tammy said, standing back up. What now? Stan asked. I want this to be a floor-length dress and I plan on wearing heels. So, you are not wearing heels, so I can't really tell where the dress will fall. You want me to put on heels? You have to put some on, or this won't work, Tammy said. Let me raise the dress. Tammy pulled the dress upward, inverting it as it rose, increasing the pressure where it doubled up over itself. When the bottom inch of the corset was showing, Tammy attached several black elastic straps. Stan could not see what she was doing due to the obstruction of his breasts, and he was loath to touch them to press them out of the way for fear his wife would get the wrong idea. What are you doing? Attaching garters to the corset. What does that have to do with high heels? Stan said, his decibel level rising. You have to wear stockings with the heels, silly, Tammy said with a tone like she was talking to a simpleton. Stockings? Why? Tammy stopped and thought for a second. The shoes will fit better, you will slip into them easier. Surely it doesn't matter since I don't plan on being in them for more than a few seconds. Tammy shrugged. You are probably right, but I don't think you want to risk getting all dressed up again if you are wrong. Tammy looked at him with a question in her eyes. Stan lowered his eyes and shook his head. Good, now raise your foot. Stan felt the soft stretching nylon slide up his leg and the gentle compression of the material around his toes. The black nylons felt weird with the garters stretching across his bare skin. Tammy stepped back when she was finished. That looks nice with those garters framing your genitals. Stan rolled his eyes. Just hurry. Tammy tugged the dress down and then slid a pair of silver heels onto his feet and buckled the strap around his ankles. Okay, just let me measure the hem. Stand straight, don't arch your back. Your boobs are big enough without you thrusting them out like that. Very funny. The cell phone lying on the bed rang. Tammy answered and listened. Stan tried his best to indicate his annoyance at the interruption, but Tammy was staring off into space listening. Hold on there, Megan. Don't freak out. I'll just come to pick you up. It's no big deal, we can work this out from here. Tammy listened some more. Just sit tight for a half hour and I'll be there. See you soon. Tammy hung up the phone and started to grab her purse and car keys. Megan could not get a rental car with her credit card. What am I supposed to do? Stan said as his wife headed toward the door. Just carefully take off the dress and place it on the bed, then you can finish your nap. I'll be back in about an hour. Tammy disappeared out of the room. I'm not putting this on again, Stan yelled after her. Stan took the opportunity to slide his fists over the silver material of the dress. It was smooth to the touch and would have been even nicer if not for the crushing embrace of the corset just beneath. The fabric was thick enough to hide the corset's presence despite the tightness. Stan decided a quick glance in the mirror would make for a good laugh, but the second he lifted his foot his weight shifted and he fell to the floor. Walking in heels was harder than girls made it look. Stan pulled himself up to his hands and knees. How am I going to get up? The dress welded his legs into a single column from knees up. He rolled back on his heel and used the nearby bed to pull himself to a standing position. He then slowly moved toward the mirror using the bed for support. The mirror was a tall freestanding mirror that rotated about a central pivot. Stan stepped in front of it and sniggered at the sight of his head on top of a very shapely body. It looked like a badly photoshopped picture. Stan stepped forward and angled the mirror downward so it cut his head from the reflection. Much better. This of course caused an odd reaction in his mind because he found the sight of his own feminized body attractive. He quickly flipped the mirror away from himself and moved back toward the center of the room. Got to get out of this now. Stan bent over to grab the hem of the garment in order to pull it over his head. He was immediately stopped by the stiff corset that prevented his back from bending. Stan bent at the knees and attempted to grasp the hem with his hand, but with his fingers bent into fists inside the sleeves he could not get a grip. His vision was also blocked by the faux breasts. He then tried to use both hands to grip the hem, which worked, but when he stood up he could not maintain the grip or he would lose his balance due to the awkward stance enforced by the corset. How did Tammy get this thing off? He said, but then realized that she had not been wearing the corset and she was much more flexible. Stan was not one to give up and he continued to try. The material continued to slip through the stumps of his hands. One thing was for sure, there was no way he was going to stay standing on these heels, but he did not want to stay in the spare bedroom. I've got to get to the couch. It was probably good that his stride was reduced to just a few inches since the slow pace allowed him to balance his weight properly in the heels. The hard part would be making it down the stairs. He decided, after making the trek to the top of the stairs, he would rather risk getting the dress dirty by going down the stairs sitting down, than falling and breaking his neck. He laughed at the thought of what the police would say about finding a man sprawled at the bottom of the stairs trapped in a silver dress. Stan sat down on his butt and slowly slid his feet down each stair until he was all the way down, using his hands on the railing to control his speed. The corset cut into hips, so he was glad to stand again at the bottom. In just a few short strides Stan made it to the couch and the remote control. He laid down and pulled his feet up. The remote was still lying on the floor where it had dropped earlier. Stan rolled over and used both his fists to get the remote onto the couch. The living room was arranged so that the television was positioned near the end of the couch so that Stan had to look down over his body to see the screen. This was normally not an issue, but today there was a silver mound rising from his chest high enough to nearly obscure the television. Lucky for Stan, they were only a constant reminder of his current situation and did not actually prevent him from seeing the screen. It was also difficult to channel surf with his useless lumps for hands. He eventually settled on single show and let the remote slide off the slippery surface covering his stomach and disappear between the cushions of the couch. The show ended too quickly, only to be replaced by golfing. Stan could not get the remote, and the effort of searching along with the sonorous voices of the golfing announcers soon put him to sleep. Stan awoke to a gentle touch on his cheeks. In his confused state he forgot about the dress and heels he was wearing. Shaking his head he sat up and was instantly reminded since he slipped back onto the cushions. His wife Tammy was standing over him with a smile on her face, and her friend Megan was holding a hand over her mouth suppressing a giggle. If you like the dress so much you can keep it. Tammy, shit Megan. Stan blushed a deep red. I couldn't. He tried again to sit up, but again the slippery silver fabric defeated him and he fell back. I couldn't get out of it, I tried and tried. Really, are you sure you just don't want to wear it? Stan's embarrassment was turning into anger. No, look, I can't even grip the hem. Lying on his back on the couch he pulled his feet up toward his hands and gripped the hem with his hands. This time the hem pulled up easily, inverting on itself. Seems like it is working to me, Tammy said. Megan was red-faced and silent in the background, still trying to keep from laughing. I never tried to do it lying down like this, I did it standing before. Stan stood the cool air on his legs. Oh God, he's wearing stockings too. Megan laughed. She made me, Stan said. Please help me get this off. Okay, okay. But you look really nice, and with a bit of makeup. Tammy let the implication hang in the air. Oh yes, can we please? Megan blurted. No, no. Get me out, Tammy. All right, you were helping me out. So I'll help you out. Tammy pulled Stan to his feet and knelt down to grab the hem. Just a second, Tammy, Megan said. Stan looked toward Megan, who was holding a cell phone. There was the digital click of the shutter. Just a little reminder. Megan! Stan yelled. No, no, no. Tammy smiled. Megan, seriously, if that were to get out, there could be trouble. Never fear, it is for my personal scrapbook. Several more pictures were snapped. He could always claim it was photoshopped. Who knew his body would look so shapely? Stan looked at the ceiling in frustration. Please get me out of this. Tammy laughed and pulled the dress up over his body. She stopped halfway. Megan, he's naked underneath. I don't think it would be polite to expose him completely. Oh, right, I'll dash out and unpack. Megan laughed as she left. Megan quickly pulled the dress off his body and loosened the corset while Stan worked on removing the heels. Soon he was dashing up the stairs to recover his clothes.